Hey guys, welcome back to the Guardian Show. I'm Davin O'Haron, and I'm here with.
Levi Carlson.
And today we're gonna just dive into our next series of the boy crisis, and really just talk about kind of what that means, and kind of this epidemic that's going through our culture, um, of kind of killing off masculinity. Um, so yeah, I guess we'll just lead it with like, what should be our example of a godly man? And I mean, the one all be all example is Jesus Christ. I mean, he came down here to show us how to live. And since he came down as a man, he showed us how to be godly leaders that care for the weak, the sick, and anybody, and just really was an example of the way we should live. And yeah, with modern media and just school and everything, it's all kind of pulled us so far away from that and put down that idea of what a man should be. But yeah, where should we start?
Yeah, I think that's good. I would say with the whole entire, I guess the whole school is the biggest part of it, because through your whole entire age of from preschool to when you graduate, you're basically this sponge that's getting all this information, and 90% of the time you're in classes of people that are teaching you of what's right and wrong, and your parents aren't really the ones who really teach you through your young years. I mean, it's mainly where you're at the most and who's your friends, and I mean that's where you get your whole entire moral compass, I guess. And majority of the time, that's usually the wrong way to, or the wrong direction that you go in. And I just say that's the biggest part is through your young years of figuring it out.
Yeah, definitely. And since God and Jesus should be our example of how us as men should lead our lives, the fact that God's been taken out of schools and out of a lot of things, it's been straight up to the point that God is banned in public schools. There's teachers that are fired for talking about God. So the fact that he can't be expressed in those years whenever you're so vulnerable, you're the sponge, like you said. You're sponging up other information, and this is something we're going to have to talk about with the boy crisis, is just woke media and the idea that kind of with the rise of feminism and all these things of equality and everything, men and women should have equal opportunity, but it's biblical and biological that we have differences. And I mean, men, God laid it out that we should be leaders, protectors, and providers. And I'm not saying women can't go out and be independent, but that's what God's called us to do. And the fact that there's people that are getting upset because a man holds a door open for them, or says, I don't know, just any of that stuff, it's scary that what used to be a good trait of a godly man is now being put down, and just the idea that a lot of the aspects of being a man are being really just shut down. And you can be, and you always get labeled as toxic, or toxic masculinity, if that's your plan, is to grow up and have a family and provide for your wife and all this stuff, because it seems like you're putting down the woman, saying, oh, she couldn't provide for herself. When that's not the case at all. It's what God's called us to do, but yeah, just kind of back to how have we gotten to this point, I think a big portion of it is social media, yes, there's been a big push for men to be more vulnerable and almost weak. Yes, men should be vulnerable, but not to the extent that people are saying nowadays. You need to be able to express your emotions and have a high EQ, But at the same time, we shouldn't be crybabies about all this stuff. We're meant to be the leaders that are going to stand up and tough it out when times get tough, and really just kind of maybe be the light in the darkness when we need it, you know? And yeah, it's just scary that between the feminist movement and everything, it's being put down, being just manly, you know? And it's just something that we really need is we're losing leaders, you know? I mean, everybody's taken a very neutral role to things, and nobody wants to step up and preach God's word and just lead. And yeah, I think it's a big portion of why just the idea of being a man has become so lost.
Yeah, I think social media is the other thing that's really like hard, because like the whole entire dynamic of it is like to basically saturate kids in just useless information majority of the time. Especially a kid doesn't know what they need or want. They just kind of go with whatever is thrown at them. And with all the censorship and basically the media of what they get to say what's right and wrong, it's like, honestly, that's how your kids become, is because they're on it more than they hang around the right people or their family and get the right information of what they need to learn, and in a healthy way. It's over I guess produced.
Yeah.
And how they just watch the world, and it's too much information as far as like what they get.
Definitely. And just kind of back to the idea of like, not only has God been taken out of the school system, but even out of social media. Like, yes, there's a lot of pages that do want to preach God's word or whatever, if we're like talking in terms of TikTok. I'll be scrolling through, and since I've followed quite a few pages of like different churches or prayer groups or just people that will get on there and share verses or whatever, I'll get some of those, but I can follow one car TikTok and then I'm getting recommended a ton of those videos. Why is it that stuff that I've actually searched for gets censored so much harder? But it all just gets boiled down to the thing that the person we're supposed to be basing our life and our values on is being quieted. You know, I'm not going to say silence, because God can never be silenced, but they're trying as hard as they can to quiet God, especially in the media, which is, like Levi said, one of the biggest ways information is getting to not just kids, but anybody, you know, because media can be anything from TV to those TikToks you're watching, Instagram, like literally anything. And it's just they're trying to take God out of all of it. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like the main reason, if not the only reason, that we've fallen so far away from what men should be. Because, yeah, it's just scary, because there's some like just very basic like ideas that, I mean, I know at least our fathers have passed down to us, and what a man should be. Like, you protect women, just period, end of story. And depending on who I say that to, that could be considered sexist and offensive and all this stuff. When, I mean, God calls us to do it. Just the idea of being a man, that's what we should do.
Yeah.
And another part of being a leader is really just like, not even just in the sense of being a father or in a family setting, but really like since you're trying to lead the people around you, leading them towards God. And really just immersing yourself and maybe even the people around you in God's word or whatever. Like, one of the best examples I can think of is anytime that like our friend Caleb, he helps us with a lot of these videos and everything. He'll always try to every now and then like start Bible studies or something, because he's just really wanting to make sure that we're all immersed in it and can like come together in that kind of fellowship. And I mean, that's one of the most important parts of it, not just like, let's say in a family situation, just because you're supposed to provide and you go and make money for the family, you put food on the table, and maybe you protect and you keep your family safe and everything. Most importantly is saving them. So even if somebody has all these good ideas of being a man, and they protect and provide for their family, they treat their wife well, they've raised their kids well and all this stuff, but they haven't instilled them with God. I mean, we can't be good, godly men without God.
Yeah.
You know? Like, inherently, if we don't have God, the world's going to end up shaping us. And it's going to shape us into maybe one of these people that, like, one of the main arguments against men is the bad eggs out there that let the testosterone get to them, don't have the fear of God in them, and go out and do horrible things. And sadly, that's kind of shaped how a lot of people look at men. So it's led a lot of people to think, oh, men are horrible and everything, because of a couple of, or probably quite a few, just very bad people. And yeah, it just kind of leads me back to we've got to make sure that we have the Spirit of God in us, because, I mean, it's kind of the definition of being a godly man, is having the Spirit of God in you to lead you and guide you into what being a godly man means for your situation.
And I think, yeah, with the whole godly man situation, it's like people can do like what they say is right, but if you're only going off of your compass, it's like you're not going off of what God says and like His word, because like everyone knows that in the real world, like everyone is, I mean, put in this short time that you have to make a decision of what you're going to do. And most of the time it's usually a wrong decision because we have too many choices. And that could go for anything as far as how you treat someone, even to yourself. I mean, most people are usually selfish in the ways that they think. So it's like if you're not really like trying to do what's right in God's eyes compared to what you think is right in the moment, it's like 9 times out of 10, it's like, especially if you're not like, you don't know what God's word is, it's like you're not going to do what's really right.
It's going to be skewed by the world.
Yeah, and it's not going to go as far as well for you compared to if you know God's word more. You'll want to do what His word is calling you to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just it all ties back to we need to be led by Christ. I mean, not even just men, all of us, we need to be led by Christ, because many, like just everybody is, especially in a world that God's been taken out of, we all need to step up and be leaders, right? And we all need to be able to step forward and proclaim God's word and let God be at the center of it and just ride with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, we just need God to be our foundation so that we can all go forward and lead and bring up the next wave of Christians to hopefully grow and start fighting back against this idea that we need to take God out of everything. Because I was even talking about this the other day. I think one of the big reasons God's being taken out of everything is if you don't have God in you, it's so much easier to just live the way of the world.
Yeah, and there's no, I guess, like, more people are impulsive.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing telling you, oh, you can't go.
There's no boundary.
Yeah, do all of these things that the world has glorified. And it's just a matter of all of us need to be good leaders that have the Spirit of God in us to go out and show people what's right again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be a man.
Yep.
All right, I think we'll leave it there. We'll probably cover a couple more topics about just, maybe dive a little deeper into how media is really affecting how men grow up and just more stuff like that with the rest of the series. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.